Okay, so we're going to use Photoshop to paint today, and just quickly typed in abstract painters into Google. There's some very famous ones, such as Picasso and Salvador Dali, but what are some of the um, common characteristics that you guys are seeing with abstract paintings and abstract art? What are some common traits that you would describe? Colorful. What else? How, if I was on the phone and I couldn't see any of these artworks, how would you describe the way that they're painted? They're full, meaning what? Describe it a little bit more. I'm on the phone and I can't see them. So, what do you mean by full? Not a lot of empty space. So the color is all over the canvas. Okay, what else? How would you describe the way they paint it with the paint? What does it look like? Blend it together. Okay, blend it. What else would you say? What do you mean by pastel? Like the oil crayons? What do you relate? I see where you're coming from. What do you relate to that? Why is it like that? Oil pastels are, you mix a lot of different colors together. So there's a lot of colors that you see. It's not just simple. There's a lot of like depth and a lot of layering. Would you say that, what would you say the texture is like? Smooth, rough, calm, active? It depends. Okay, so this is a little bit calmer than maybe this one that looks like there's a lot of action going on. Same thing over here. However, when we look at it again up close, there's still a lot of texture. So you tend to see a lot going on. So we're going to bring a painting or an image in, and what I'm going to ask you to do is, actually let's start with this. We'll just start with a sunset. When you have your collage that I'm going to ask you to make today, I'm going to ask you to go to filter, and under filter there's a lot of artistic variations you can do with images. Okay, so under filter, all of these down here, all of these filters can do a multitude of things and make your photograph or your collage seem more like a painting. Okay, and this is colored pencil filter. There's also paint daubs, and usually you can adjust and transform the filter to get more variations. I can even adjust the paint brush type. Okay, you can make it sparkle, and if you get in pretty close here, you can see all the variations that are made. I'm gonna zoom out again. So this can make your piece become more like a painting, and instead of just going with one and settling, if you come over and you play with the adjustments, that can put your style or your impression on top of it as well. I'm going to cancel out of this filter because I want to show you one that gives you a lot of play, and I think I showed you this earlier, but we're going to go down to Liquify. And Liquify, the moment I touch that, the moment I touch Liquify, it's like turning every color on this photograph into wet paint. And there's a bunch of different tools. You can just push around some items. So just like if you're finger painting and you're just wiping your finger through there. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to undo that real quick. You can twirl clockwise. So if you just hold your piece here, it'll twirl it in a circle. It's going very slow, so I'm going to take my brush density up and my brush size, and we'll watch what happens here. Okay, all I'm doing is holding it down. I'm not even moving it. But it's starting to swirl all that nice wet paint together. So this is another way for you to recreate an artwork with your photograph. Using your photograph kind of as a wet palette of paint. There's the pucker tool, and that sucks it in like a black hole right into that center. So all I'm doing is holding this down, and I'm making it really big so you can see what I'm doing, but if I held it down and moved it, you can see what happens there. Maybe I can take one painting and now put it on top of another. I'm going to cancel that out. And then I'm going to go back to filter. The other tool is called bloat, and bloat will blow it up like it's blowing up a bubble from underneath. So watch what happens here as it magnifies it and turns it into kind of a three-dimensional zone. I'm going to undo that. There's a mirror tool, and the mirror tool kind of clones. And actually, it's so big right now, it's cloning the edge. So mirror tool, take something right down the middle and clone it. You'll have to play with that. Mine's going a little bit too big here. And what's fun here is the turbulence tool and freeze. Freeze and thaw. Freeze is if I don't want to mess with this zone right here. Notice how I painted over that? That will be untouched. So I can freeze that zone, come up here to turbulence, and I could paint with turbulence all around that zone, and notice it's not touching it. And when I want to unfreeze it, I will come here to thaw. Okay, and so I'll thaw that away. And now I can maneuver that if I want to. I could freeze the outside edge. And I could go in here and bloat this. Okay, if I want to do that. And so when we're ready to return it, you've been able to make an abstract painting out of one of your photographs. My suggestion is that you can go to PicMonkey and add some overlays and stickers and themes to this before or after you liquify. For instance, if I save this as abstract and then take it into PicMonkey, pause this for a minute. I'd like you to put your name on it. I'd like you to label it. So if you do that, so we're here in PicMonkey, and if you bring your abstract picture in and you go to themes, there's a bunch of themes with different labels. So I would like you to add your name. so that you can have your journal, your name on your journal. So it's easy enough to go ahead and add a banner somewhere and then add a funky font to it and call it a day. So if we type it in here, and then maybe I'll say, I would like to put a frame on this, or I want to put some kind of flourish. There's a bunch of labels here too under the overlays. Engraved banners, labels, grunge labels. And you might decide that you want to put some kind of border. Then that's a good time to do it as well. And if you just right click on these, you can duplicate overlay. You can send forward or send back. So if you just duplicate what you have because you want to make it bigger or whatever, you can do that too. Alright, so I'm going to let you go. You can make your own piece, but I'd like you to play with filters and Liquify today to turn your photos into an abstract painting. Okay.